Composer Tools Pro comes with a plugin called MK Recall Send, which makes setting up Recall in Digital Performer incredibly simple. But before we begin, we need to take care of one thing, and that is we need to change Composer Tools Pro's recall message down from controller 127 to controller 119. And that's simply because in Digital Performer, controller numbers 120 to 127 are actually reserved for the system, so they're just going to get filtered out. So in Composer Tools Pro, tap and hold the menu button and swipe on over to Prefs. Go to the Recall tab and change the recall output CC to 119. Okay, so here in Digital Performer, I have just a very simple project. I've got a single instance of Contact and some sample libraries loaded up, and of course the MIDI tracks to control each of the instruments. It's just like you might see in a typical orchestral MIDI composing setup. So let's create an instance of the MK Recall Send plugin by going up to Project, Add Track, and MK Recall Send is actually an instrument type plugin because it receives MIDI just like Contact receives MIDI. So MIDI kinetics, and it doesn't matter if we choose mono or stereo because MK Recall Send doesn't actually output any audio at all. So I'll just choose mono in this case. If you don't see the plugin here in the list, just make sure you've installed it correctly into your plugins folder. And let me just drag it up to the top here under Contact to keep things nice and organized, which is always good. All right, so as you can see, the plugin has 16 slots for each of the 16 MIDI channels. When the plugin receives the recall message on one of the channels, it converts it to the program change message next to it, and then it sends it off to MK Connect, which then broadcasts it to all of the connected tablets. So let's just see what program change message we need for this first track. I'll head over to Composer Tools Pro's directory, and I see this first preset needs program change 10 on channel 2. So back in MK Recall Send, I'll set the conversion to channel 2 and program 10. And now all we have to do is send MIDI from our MIDI track to MK Recall Send on channel 1. But of course, we're already sending MIDI to Contact on channel 1, and we don't want to lose that because we still want to be able to play our virtual instrument, of course. So what we have to do is send MIDI to two places, both to Contact and to MK Recall Send. And in Digital Performer, this is very easily done using MIDI device groups. So first, let me just open up the MIDI device groups panel so that we can see what we're doing. And you can find that in Studio, MIDI device groups. And now if you click in the MIDI track's output, you can select New Device Group. And once we've done that, you can see that a new entry was created in the device groups panel with the same name as the MIDI track that we just created. So if you just click on the little disclosure toggle here, it'll show you all the different MIDI destinations that are available in your studio. And so of course we want Contact on channel 1, so I'll click there, and MK Recall Send channel 1, so I'll click there. And that's all there is to it. Let's just give this a try. And it works. So let's quickly do another one now that we've seen how this is all set up. Let's head back to Composer Tools Pro's directory. And I can see that this next track needs program change 11 on channel 2. So back in Digital Performer, I'll go to MK Recall Send, and under the next input channel, I'll set the conversion to be channel 2 and program number 11. One more little tip here. If your recall addresses are all sequential like this, you can enable auto increment, and that will make the plugin automatically increment all the remaining program numbers for you, which can really help to speed up this process. And of course, now we create a new device group and head over to the device group window. Now you don't actually have to open up this little disclosure toggle. You can actually just select the destinations directly in the list if you click next to this triangle, which I think is a little faster because it saves a step. So I'll select Contact, channel 2, and MK Recall Send, channel 2. And that's it. Let's give it a try. All right, so that's all there is to it. You can just work your way through your project, sending MIDI both to your virtual instrument and to MK Recall Send using device groups. And of course, you can create as many instances of MK Recall Send as you need to handle all of your MIDI tracks. And that's all there is to setting up Recall in Digital Performer.